On to what is next. Yossef Bodansky is an expert, he's an author and an expert on Osama bin Laden. Who is this guy? Why is this guy? And perhaps above all, why is he so hard to get? He joins us tonight. Good evening.
Good evening.
Let me start with the last of those questions. This is a name, bin Laden, that's been tossed around this country as not quite public enemy number one, but that sort of thing for any number of years. How has he remained at large? Why is he so difficult to get?
He's sitting in Afghanistan. He's moving between 5 or 6 bunkers that, by the way, we paid for during the Great Jihad of the 1980s. He's moving constantly between them. He's running a lot of security operations around him. He's running a lot of decoys. He's shielded and protected by the Taliban because he's family. And unless somebody just walks all the way to him, it's impossible to reach to him. And his bodyguards, including his son, have a standing order to shoot him to make sure that nobody captures him alive.
Why does he hate the United States so?
For 2 reasons in principle. The first is a more ideological one, which is he believes that the Muslim world could have surge and become a leading superpower in the aftermath of the collapse of communism, that Islam could have become the leading political ideology of the world, and that westernization, the penetration of the West, the overwhelming influence of the West, of globalization, etc., prevents it from happening. And then there's a more personal, if you want, reason, and it is personally hurt but what he called the defiling of the sacred land of Arabia, that is the presence of our forces there, starting with the Gulf War and till this very day.
Someone, I don't know if this is true, so I'll just ask you. Someone told me today that during the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, the United States, in fact, gave financial support to bin Laden or bin Laden's people. Is that true?
No, we provided support to Pakistani intelligence that disseminated it as they saw fit with whatever guidance from here. Bin Laden people, quote unquote, were part of the group, the central group that Pakistani intelligence controlled and supported. Their objective was to ensure the Islamist, with an IST, character of the resistance rather than permit the various tribal and localized commanders to rise up. That was the strategy. It was self-defeating for the West, and we're still paying the price for it, because from that leadership there emerged the Islamist terrorist movement that we're now confronting.
You started following this guy 20 years ago, if I remember this correctly. What was it 20 years ago that got you interested in him?
In bin Laden?
Yeah.
I mean, Osama bin Laden. Well, I had a meeting in London with a friend, was one of the Arab volunteers in Afghanistan, a gentleman that was much older than the usual and very articulate individual, and we were talking about all sorts of things, and he brought up bin Laden's name, and he said this is a guy to follow, that if he's not martyred anytime soon, he'll make history. So I was really captivated, and he hasn't disappointed me. He is a formidable individual, a very lucid, a very articulate individual. That it's fascinating to study his writing, his ideas, his ideology, even though he's vehemently, virulently anti-American. Nonetheless, his intellect is immense.
Is he a smart guy, charismatic guy? Is he someone who uses his charisma to attract followers, or does he use his wallet to attract followers?
No, first of all, bin Laden does not have a penny to his soul. Let's make it clear, despite all of the myths. Now, as far as him, he uses his charisma, his eyes, to reach to the people, to attract their attention, to build trust, but then he convinces them. His argumentation is exceptionally lucid. His pronunciation of the Quran is the citation from luminaries of Islamic past, etc., are excellent. He makes excellent case. He's very articulate. His language is flowery. His poetry is great. He just wins you over and he convinces you.
And just a quick final question, if I can. Do you think the United States ultimately will get him, or will he get away again?
Or he considers himself dead. He considered himself a martyr, having martyred de facto already in the early 1980s, and every day that he lives is kind of a blessing, and I think that he will rather be martyred than be caught alive, and as I said, the people around him will make sure that he is martyred rather than be captured by us.
Mr. Bodansky, nice to talk to you. Appreciate it. I hope we'll talk again. Thank you very much for, my pleasure. Thank you for joining us.